good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You got to tune in on Facebook Live. I got this really cute picture of Penny up there. She looks so excited, and she's out there in the grass, and you may have seen it on Facebook this morning. Now, let me switch to the actual in-studio view of Penny. Well, no, that's the wrong one. How about this one? There's the actual view of Penny. Yeah, we're here for another day. I'm in my seat. Why do I have to be here? That's what she's saying. Is that a hoot? But you can tell she's alive because she is moving. All right, I'm Ann Eller. How you doing this morning? It is the last day of June. That's right, it's the last day of June. And today's show concentrates a little bit more on things that may not seem to be as we thought they were, which is always a theme for me because I'm always looking at things. Is this really the way it is, or is there another angle to it? All right, well, we got a lot to cover here this morning. Did want to tell you about my encounter with urgent care this weekend. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Well, let's see. Let's see if Penny's going to be any more excited about it than when I was talking to her about it earlier. Nope. Okay, we'll go back to Ann now. Okay. Anyways, about earlier this last week, I found a tick on me, and not unusual because if you were out in the field there running with Penny and everything, you know you might come across a tick or other bugs. And of course, the mosquitoes out there are terrible. I've been spraying myself with mosquito stuff when I go out there. But anyways, I found a tick on me, and as I've done over the years, for many, many years, I have, when Jeff was around, he was really he liked to think of himself as a chick magnet. He was really a tick magnet. Wah, 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 wah. He's really a tick magnet. Anyways, I found a tick on me, so I went ahead and pulled it off, and I wasn't really sure it was a tick. I didn't see all the little legs out there. But anyways, I pulled it off and I destroyed it and decided, yeah, this was a good thing. Moved on, and a few days later I was looking at it. It itched a little bit, but not bad. And a few days later I was looking at it, and I was getting a little concerned because it wasn't healing up the way I kind of thought it should have been. So I started thinking about Lyme disease. Said I'm going to check out what Lyme disease is. And there's a lot of bad things with Lyme disease, let me tell you. It is not something that that one would want to get. Fever, chills, severe fatigue, headache, stiff neck, muscle and joint aches, swollen lymph glands. You can get Bell's palsy, which I've already had once in my life. And so I said, I think I should go to urgent care and just let them look at it. One of the biggest signs of a tick is you get like a red ring around it, and they call it a rash, but it doesn't have to be where the tick site is, which is also kind of frustrating. But anyways, I decided I did not need to get Lyme's disease, so I decided I'd go have it checked out at urgent care. Go to urgent care, very nice, doctor, great and everything, and I show him it was right there on my chest, and he goes, well, let me get up close and look at this. So he takes that little thing that they look in your ears and everything, and he checks it out, and he gets real close, and I'm like, okay. And he goes, well, the good news is the head is not still in your body. You got it all. I was like, whoa, thank you. So we discussed for a few more minutes, and he goes, you know, they say that we don't have Lyme disease here. He goes, but I've seen it a lot here in our area. So I asked him, well, can you do a blood test just to see if I'm getting Lyme's disease or something? He goes, no. It takes about 2 weeks, 10 days to a month for the symptoms to appear. And he goes, but I would have no problem giving you a round of antibiotics just to make sure that you don't get the Lyme's disease. So I'm taking doxycycline or whatever it is, and I decided that I would rather do that than have to be in charge of this whole operation and get Lyme disease, which can be very debilitating. So I put that out there as a message. If you get bit by a tick, number one, they say, to pull it straight out. Don't try to wiggle it back and forth. Pull it straight out. Make sure you get the head and everything. I was putting hydrocortisone on it just because it itched a little bit. And but if it starts to develop a red ring around it or not heal up, you might ought to have it checked. That's just an FYI from the experiences of Ann Eller right here live on WCRS. If you got kids that are outside and everything, you need to make sure you check them for ticks and this type of thing, because if they're out in the woods, if they're outside, that's a good thing, but you want to check and make sure that they're not harboring a tick, and particularly like under their arms, on the back of their knees. I mean, these are places where ticks like to hide. And of course, if you have a dog, you want to make sure you're checking your dog too. High grasses, woods, all that kind of places. And of course, we have deer out here in our field, so that's a double whammy. Anyways, that's a little story for today from the archives of Anne's life. And Penny, Princess Penny, says, yeah, I don't want anything to happen to you, Mom. Would you want anything to happen to me? Nope. I like being able to sleep in on this show. I'd hate to have to do it myself. I like the fact you get me treats. You let me sleep in whenever I want. Life is good. Okay. So, moving right along, we got a lot of stories to talk about. This morning we're going to be talking about that birth certificate law story that I didn't get to yesterday. You don't want to forget about the local data center information meeting this evening. And interesting facts you may not have known. Did you know, well, I'm not going to tell you, but how many times is the Times Square ball going to drop on July 4th? How many times is it going to drop? Well, we'll talk about it. But first, I've got a news breaking story here for you. Actually, it's not news breaking. I just came across it. Did you know? We're all the time hearing about Minnesota, California, all the fraud and everything that is going on in those states. But did you know that a convicted healthcare fraud architect, Herbert Leon Kimball, has been returned to South Carolina to face justice, ending an international manhunt that culminated in his arrest in the Philippines earlier this month. So he had generated more than one person, $1.2 million in fraudulent claims. He appeared in federal court in Colombia last Monday, a week ago from Monday, after being extradited from the Philippines. Federal authorities hailed his capture as a major victory in the government's ongoing crackdown on healthcare fraud. But have we heard that much about this story? It kind of was flying under the radar till I was out there looking for something interesting to talk to. Do you know the scheme that he had developed stretched across the country and became one of the largest fraud investigations connected to the Department of Justice nationwide Operation Brace Yourself crackdown on telemedicine and medical equipment scams. So evidently, this is what makes this story, to me, kind of interesting. He pleaded guilty to healthcare fraud charges but failed to appear for a status conference and 2 separate sentencing hearings in 2024, prompting authorities to launch a fugitive investigation. He was eventually added to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's newly created Most Wanted Fraudsters list earlier this month. However, his freedom was short-lived. That was just the first of the month. He was captured in the Philippines, and he's been brought back to South Carolina. And I don't think he'll have the opportunity to get out and come back for a meeting. I think he's proved that he's going. But $1.2 billion in Medicare charges and affected thousands of Medicare beneficiaries nationwide. Of course, many of them elderly victims. Investigations say the operation stretched across 21 federal judicial districts and involved more than 80 defendants who have since been prosecuted, sentenced, or otherwise held accountable. So here we have the kingpin, I guess, of this operation, and it was right here in South Carolina, $1.2 billion. Congratulations to our FBI for helping bring the cost down. $1.2 billion. And, that brings up another point. Nobody should ever ask for your Social Security number on the phone. You are better off to, if somebody calls you, hang up and call back, check to make sure that you are talking to the organization that you think you're talking to. Don't just take their word because they called you. Scamming is a huge, huge industry, and we have got to fight against it. One of the biggest things they talk about, and I'm going a little off script here, but one of the biggest things they talk about, you get a telephone call and you think it's your grandson, your granddaughter, and of course you want to help or do something. They tell you that this child is telling you they need money right now. Maybe they've been in a car accident. Maybe. But do not fall for this scam. It's too devastating to you and our economy. So please don't give up your money to somebody just picking up the phone and calling. Make sure you call their mother, call them, locate where they're at. Don't just believe somebody because they called. And that's where having a skeptical mind helps out sometimes. We'd like to believe, but in today's world, we can't believe. So to go back to the story about Kimball, he could get as much as 20 years in federal prison. I think he should get more than that. $1.2 billion. My God. So he's in federal custody as prosecutors continue pursuing the additional fugitive-related charges. And this healthcare fraud is one of the largest sources of waste and abuse within federal entitlement programs. And we all know that that is true. So there's your story of the morning that you may not have known about. We talk about all these other states. Right here in South Carolina, we got a big one, and he's in custody. So how about that? Now, I want to talk about a few useless things that aren't really that important in the scheme of things, but things that I like to talk about. Did you know, today in history, in 1953, the first Chevrolet Corvette rolled off the assembly line? Did you know that? I didn't know that. So, if you had a classic car, if you were going to have a classic car, what would you want? I tell you what, it wouldn't be a Corvette. I can remember back in the early 70s, riding in a Corvette, and it was, my girlfriend was so impressed. Her boyfriend had this car, so we went for a ride. That thing was so you were bumping around in it, and I was like going, this is not fun. Now, today, I understand. I haven't ridden in a Corvette lately, but they're a lot different. But back in the day, they were very cool looking cars, but not very comfortable, in my opinion. All right, also published today was Gone with the Wind. When was that? 1936, maybe? And so that's a good one. Lena Horne's birthday is today. Stormy weather, and quite often we'll play a few songs on Trash to Treasure for Lena Horne. She was, what was she known as? I'll have to look that up. I don't actually remember what was she known as. If Chris was listening this morning, he'd tell me. So, but anyways, stormy weather, yes. Well, anyways, let's move on. If I find it here real quick, I'll tell you about it. I have too much information. Too much information. Where is it? All right, I don't see it. But anyways, she was quite a hit. She could sing jazz, she could sing blues. She was the one that made Stormy Weather. That was her song. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is it is National Social Media Day. National Social Media Day. This started about 20 years ago, and some people are listening on the radio, some maybe watching us on Facebook. 20 years ago, we couldn't have done that. 20 years ago, radio was the social media. That is the truth. People used to, in the 1940s, 1950s, people gathered around the radio to hear stories. People had to be at their seats before the advent of TV, listening to radio shows. Talk shows became the way that people could call in and communicate. That was the social media. Today, our lives are made up of scrolling on our phones, checking out things, seeing what somebody else is doing. My, how it's changed. Are we better off for it? That, my friends, is the question. Are we better off for today than we were when we had social media, So anyways, we had a comment here on Facebook. My father said the happiest days of my life were when I got to ride of the Corvette, when I got to ride, when I got rid of the, wait a minute. The happiest days in his life, for her grandfather said, was when he got rid of the Corvette, when he got rid of the in-ground pool, and when he got rid of his motorcycle. Yeah, some of those things, but there's a lot of people out there just going to go back to collectors' cars. And how about all the great stories? There's a great story out there that's been recirculated several times since I heard it the first time about a man who came back from the war, had his really special car, met his wife, kept the car, had the kids, and then time went on and he needed money, so he sold his car. God, what kind of car was it? I don't remember. Anyways, he sold a car, and he always talked about how much he loved that car. So his son went out and through social media, through all media type thing, was able to find this car, bought the car from the person who had it, had the car restored, and for a significant birthday, got his dad that car. That was a great story. Now, that was a true story that I read about. But then what was it? What was the commercial for? Where Granger Hines. Yes, Granger Hines played in that commercial about the car that was in the shed. Was it Ford? I don't remember. Anyways, Granger Hines is in this commercial. It's a great commercial. And he remembers the days when he and his wife used to ride in this car. His wife is gone. The car hasn't been out of the barn for years. As his daughter went back, had his friends and everything, and they cleaned it up, and they brought it out, and it just made his day. It's the memories that we have of things from the past, isn't it? That always surprise us or bring back such fond memories. And I think it's great when somebody can reproduce or can bring that back to something that was so significant. Anywho, I love that story about the Corvette. And how about the one Johnny Cash song, I built that car one piece at a time? Yes. Anyways, those are some of the things that, just kind of bring us together. But to get back to the social media aspect of it, think how connected we are, but think about how lonely we can be. There's a bill in front of Congress right now that is to help elderly people, particularly with loneliness, that it creates so many other health aspects because people feel disconnected, separate, etc. And so they have a bill that hopefully they will get through. I didn't realize this is a bill that actually has been in Congress in the past. And they are bringing it back up to appropriate money for the CDC to study loneliness. You don't need to study it, folks. You just need to make it so that people can get out. They said one of the biggest things that happens with older people is not being able to drive that much, not being able to get out that much, health concerns. But health concerns are exasperated by loneliness. And I think that's true. That's why one of the biggest things you can do is go have a cup of tea, or if you bake some cookies, go up the street and drop it off to a lonely person living up the street that you don't see out very, very often. So think about that one. But yes, the government is looking to appropriate money for loneliness study. I imagine there'll be a lot of people signing up for that one, signing up for a study on that. So, how you doing this morning? I'm Ann Eller. We are live on Facebook, WCRS Radio. Been having some good comments here. Steph says, I find it particularly sad with this new technology. I see high school kids texting each other instead of talking. Yes, we talk about that. We also have people sitting at restaurants texting each other back and forth. I've seen people on dates not even talking to each other, just texting. I certainly hope that the art of conversation comes back, because the art of conversation really is what so many times connects us all, doesn't it? Albert Einstein said that our technology would exceed our humanity. I think he's right. I think he's right too. Our technology would exceed our humanity. Unbelievable, isn't it? Steph also said, I drove some summer school kids that did not know where they lived, 16 and 17-year-olds. And that's right here in South Carolina. This is not a far-off story. That's right here in South Carolina. That's true. And I am always amazed, particularly if I get in a car with one of my friends or somebody that they just turn on maps to show them how to go, even if they know how to go. Don't you find that unbelievable? It's not frustrating. It's just like, well, you just go down here, you go to the left. Remember how we used to give directions? Oh, my God. I used to be the one that had to go in and get the directions. And this is the directions. Well, you go down to the stoplight, take a left, go about, down past that red barn, take a right at the next road after that, then go about 5 miles, go to that stop sign. Nope, back up, go here. That's how we used to do directions. Now, everybody just punches it into their phones, and they have no idea how to get from point A to point B without it. Interesting side note. So, that's another side road Sidebar. Yes, we're doing a little sidebar here this morning as we reminisce. All right. Well, now, this is my big story. Birth certificates. You know, there's a lot of discussion about whether you should be able to change your birth certificate. And this has particularly come to the fore as we are dealing with people transgender. And sometimes things aren't exactly the way we think they are. To me, the surprise was that South Carolina is one of the states that allows a person to amend the sex designation on a birth certificate after meeting certain legal requirements. I think many people, including me, assume a conservative state like South Carolina would prohibit it, but that isn't the case. South Carolina does allow the sex marker on a birth certificate to be amended. It's not done simply by request. The person must generally provide a court order directing the amendment and supporting documentation meeting the state's requirements. And historically, this has included documentation related to gender transition under state policy. Are you surprised? 864-332-9355, 864-332-9355. I am surprised, but if we look at the national distribution amongst all the states have the right to make this decision. So, most states have a process for updating the sex marker on a birth certificate. About 10 states do not allow changes or have policies that effectively prevent them, and they have ongoing litigation and all this going on. But some of the states that do not allow any change to the birth certificate: Kansas, Florida, Montana, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas. Those are some. There may be some others. There are also several states with very restrictive or uncertain policies that often get grouped under no change. But we all think that because South Carolina is conservative, that we would not allow someone to amend the sex marker on a birth certificate, but South Carolina does have this process. What do you think? Whether you agree or not, that's not my point. My point is that sometimes things aren't exactly the way they seem. And so whether court documentation, any of these things need to be done, we in South Carolina have a policy. But under current South Carolina law, just to give you a little backdrop, a person must obtain a family court order directing the birth certificate to be amended, provide the required supporting documentation to the South Carolina Department of Public Health's vital records, pay any applicable fees, and so it's not simply a matter of requesting a new birth certificate. So were you surprised to hear that here in South Carolina? I was a little surprised. And some states do allow administrative changes. Some require court orders all across the nation. And so today I'm not talking about what the law currently is, nor whether listeners think the law should be or should not be changed. But did you know that this was even a thing here in South Carolina? So does that surprise you? Or you can comment right there live on Facebook and or 864-332 9355 864 332 9355. So, this is one of those things. You know, you can get in on the conversation. Join us on Facebook Live if you like, or if you want to keep your comment more private, you can 864-332-9355. Steph says there's a lot of old laws that probably shouldn't be there. I'm sure the gender issue wasn't as big a deal as it is now as back then, and probably she's right. I mean, that every once in a while, believe it or not, they do make mistakes. I find it hard, but they do make mistakes. So the one of the things that we have on the books here in South Carolina are a lot of old laws. I don't know how old that law is. I didn't investigate anything along that line. On another note, and this actually came up because in the news, the DAR has decided to allow amended birth certificates for people to be able to become members of the DAR. They still have to go through all their checking all their background and all this type of thing. You know, it's a very it's a process to become a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. But I just found out that's what started me thinking: is there such a law? And what law do we have here in South Carolina? Anyways, thought you might be interested. 864-332-9355. 864-332-9355. Would be interesting to see a list of old laws that are on the books, kind of like the story we did about pinball the other day. Who knew that kids couldn't play pinball, and they just passed a law making it okay for under 18-year-olds to play pinball? Because in the beginning, pinball was considered a game of chance, i.e. that contributed to gambling, and back in the 70s, it changed to a game of skill with the advent of flippers. Every other state in the Union, FYI, in case you didn't catch that show, every other state in the Union had already passed laws stating that it was okay for kids to play because it was a game of skill, not a game of chance. Only South Carolina held out and was the last state in the Union to pass a law about pinballs being a game of skill, not a game of chance, so children under 18 could play. Hey, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. No, that's actually a story. That's actually a true story. So those are a few of the stories that are in the news. What's Penny thinking here this morning? Let's check it out. This is boring. I have no interest in this. Can we talk about deer sightings? Can we talk about taking a road trip? Can we talk about doing things like that? I might be interested in that. Well, we could talk about the fact that I got a hands-free leash for Penny. And I didn't know how this was going to work, but it's actually working pretty good. It's only hands-free for you. Me, I'm still contained. That is true, Penny. But it has created an opportunity for me to take more pictures of you. Hey, that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm sticking. All right, we got a couple more stories that we want to talk about here this morning. What are some of my other stories here? We've talked about birth certificates. We've talked about ticks. You know, you can always go back and check out these shows. They are on Facebook Live. That's right, WCRS Radio. You can also check them out on the website, WCRS1450am.net. So don't ever think if you missed it or you only hear part of the story, you can always go back and hear the whole story, because I know you're going to want to do it. Tonight is the data center meeting tonight. You know, one thing I'm noticing, And I'm not going to get into it today. But one thing I'm noticing is how many data centers are being either not allowed into a community, moratoriums being put in, data centers even that were approved, they're backing away from. There's all this kind of stuff going on across the nation. So we may have to go with what Elon Musk says. Keep the data centers out in space. Keep the data centers out in space. Penny, you got something to say? Yes, Penny is awake now. That story about deers and walking got her going. All right. Anyway, so if you're on Facebook, she's alive right now. She's awake. She's alive. She's pawing at me here this morning. But Elon Musk's story about putting data centers out in space may be the way we want to go. What do you think about that idea? 864-332-9355. Do you think that as far as data centers are going, we are in the process here in Greenwood, South Carolina, of whether to go with this text amendment that County Council has been working through. It will be up for vote on July 7th, a week from today. It will be up for a vote and could potentially become a law, or it could be voted down. They'll be having, I think, the third and final reading. I believe, if I'm understanding what I'm reading, is that they have taken advice from people bringing up comments about the text amendment to make some adjustments to it. There also is a moratorium amendment that is before, but it will not be at a point to be voted on, unfortunately. Our county council, more specifically, the chairman of county council, has tried to make the case that by not having anything on the books for data centers, that we are wide open. While I can see the issue there, which is why they wanted to put this text amendment on the table and get it approved. Since that has been working through the process, though, it has taken a lot of turns, and I think actually county council has been a little bit surprised by this, by the outpouring of pushback by the members of our community. So right now it is down to the wire. If you are interested in this issue, you can go tonight, 5:30, to the library, 5:30 to 7. Members of the Planning Commission will be there to answer questions, but there will not be any, not unless they just happen to show up, but they are not going to be any council members, anybody such as that, any county employees, I don't think. I think these are members of the Planning Commission that will be there to answer if you're any questions. They also, I guess, will be showing off the changes that they've made to try to appease the members of the Greenwood community. However, I'm going to put my opinion out there now. I feel, and I know a lot of other people feel, that before we have specs and everything put out there, we need a moratorium. So many communities across our state are doing this. We've seen cases where a data center has come into an area. I'll use Spartanburg. They had a deal, and then they come back and they want to redo the deal. So That is why a lot of people are saying no to data centers. And I think until we understand how it can affect humans, animals, all these type of things, I think the noise issue is a big one. I think the setback is a big issue. And I think the light issue, the light, they have lights on 24/7. They never sleep. So just my opinion on that. I would have liked to have seen the moratorium and the text amendment come up at the same time to be voted on. My hope would be that the moratorium would be in place. I don't know what's going to happen. You can make a difference, though. So make sure you go check that out, 5:30 to 7 at the library in the auditorium there. And then be at the meeting or watch it on watch it on YouTube. You can watch the meeting on YouTube. That will be Tuesday at 5:30. At 5:30 is when they come out of executive session after being in an executive session since 4 p.m. All right, let's move on and talk about another story here because that's what I got. Stories and I've got time. All right. Did you know, at New Year's, they always have the great ball drop. I will say, let's see, it's another question came in. Do we have any reason to trust them? Once it's here, we are stuck with it. Stephanie's referring to the data centers, and I just want to give you the story that Mark Allison shared in County Council, and he was talking about the dog food place and how it was going to be this great and wonderful thing, and it is. They are a good contributor, but the smell has been an issue all along. And even when they put scrubbers in, it still has some smell to it. So it is something that once you get it, yes, you are stuck with it. So you better make sure you're happy with what it is. So you can't just all of a sudden say no. One of the other things I will tell you, Bill Kilmer was at a Democratic meeting, their monthly Democratic meeting, and he said, if one is going to allow data centers, you better make sure that the fine for breaking some part of the deal or doing something is really well worth it, because these companies have oodles and oodles and oodles of money. So what you would consider a big fine is not really a big fine to them. FYI. I thought that was a very good point that was taken, is that the fines that they could amass from breaking the law are part of the agreement should be so big that they just say, I can't afford to pay that, and that might slow them down. So are we stuck with it once it comes? Most likely, and that's why places like Spartanburg are working so hard to undo what they had done. And that is, I think, a case where you look at the money is good. It's going to save the taxpayers. What else can we have in our community because we are flush with this money? Sometimes being flush with the money isn't really the answer. Not when it has adverse effects on your community. Just saying. All right. So I wanted to talk about this morning about an article that I found about celebrating the 4th of July. Now, I think this is pretty cool. But the thing about it is, I don't think any of us realized that this was going on. One of the things in New York, usually in August, they have Fleet Week, when all the ships dock, and I actually have been there during Fleet Week and had a great time. Yes, all the guys come in too. They dock all these ships, and they have all this special, and you can tour the ships and everything. Okay, it's usually pretty cool. This year, they've backed Fleet Week back to the 4th of July celebration, and people will have the opportunity. They're going to have a boat parade, all this kind of stuff. Okay, that's all great. We're not going to be in New York probably because it's this weekend is the 4th of July celebration. But I wanted to share this bit with you because I thought this was really neat. They are going to have the Times Square ball drop. Well, usually you think of that as for what? New Year's, right? But this time, the Times Square ball drop will drop at midnight, July 1st, July 3rd into July 4th in New York City to ring in America's birthday. But it will also drop 7 other times over the course of the hours to coincide with midnight in every American time zone. That means the first drop will occur at 10 a.m. on July 3rd to mark midnight in Guam, and the last drop will occur at 7 a.m. July 4th for American Samoa. The same ball will be used, but it will feature different lighting design each time. The 11:59 ball drop in Times Square will serve as the centerpiece, a high-energy cultural moment designed for a global broadcast, signaling the official arrival of July 4th for the Eastern Time Zone and setting the stage for celebrations nationwide. That's what an organizer with America 250 said. So is that cool or is that cool? I think that's pretty cool. They are going to drop the ball 7 times during the day because certain time zones will be ahead of us and then certain time zones are behind us. So if you're in New York City, you'll be able to see the ball drop at 10 a.m. and at 12 p.m. at midnight. I just thought that was a cool story. Just sharing it just because I can and because I find these type of things just totally interesting. So that's 8 times. That's 8 times the ball will drop in New York City. Now, there's going to be things going on everywhere. There are events. In fact, I'm trying to compile a list of events. So if you want to travel within, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, that you'll be able to do that for some big celebrations. But that one's a little far just to go for the day. Although there are people that can do that. One of the things that I think that is so neat and that maybe has awakened a sense of surprise and delight is how FIFA has brought the excitement back to the United States. We live in this world where every day we are barraged by all kinds of harshness with social media world, whether you watch TV, podcasts, everybody's yelling at somebody about something. And our image overseas always appears to be so bad that this is a bad, bad country. And then we've had all these people coming for FIFA from around the world, and they are loving our country. What a statement, and what a side part of FIFA. Who would have thought that it could change? There's no merchandising campaign we could have paid for that would be as great as what this one has been for the United States of America. And so many people, all the time, you see people, I don't want to go home. I want to stay here in America. And so I think that is terrific. I also heard this story this morning that I just am going to dip my toes in because I think it's a rather interesting story, is how FIFA wanted to make sure that none of the stadiums where they're playing get any kudos if they did not contribute advertising dollars to FIFA. So there's the other side of the story. So all these different stadiums have had to cover up, like Bon Secours. If they were playing at Bon Secours, they'd have to cover that up if they hadn't contributed. And everything, even down to the soap dispensers. If it said Kimberly Clark on it or XYZ, they had to cover those things up because FIFA did not want anybody to get any credit for anything that they didn't pay for in their, because they knew that their campaign was going to bring in huge dollars. The neat thing about this story is, although they covered up, like the Levi's Stadium, they covered that up, that the fabric was so thin that it sucked and grabbed a hold of the whole image, and now that's become an image out there. And there's a lot of funny stories about how this has actually worked in the manufacturer, the company's benefit, when they thought they were downing them for not jumping on board with FIFA. They've actually been able to spin it and make it a good thing. I've always said being a spin doctor would be one of the best jobs, I think, out there. When you can take something that looks like a disaster and turn it into something positive, now that's doing a job. So if that's what's happened with FIFA, I think that's kind of an interesting story from that standpoint. All right, we've talked about a lot of different things here this morning. What did I just see? I just saw something come across. Let's see what this is, because this says it's breaking news. Ford recalls more than 741,000 vehicles due to a faulty park system. Ford Motor Company is recalling 741,195 vehicles due to an issue with the park system that could allow them to roll away, federal regulators said in a recall notice on Tuesday. The recall affects the following vehicles, just FYI, in case you have one. Lincoln Navigator and Expedition, model years 2018 to 2021. The Explorer and Lincoln Aviator, models 2020 to 21. And F-150 pickup trucks, oh no, model years 20 and 21. So Ford estimates that 1% of the vehicles have the defect, according to the recall notice. Drivers will see a wrench warning light illuminate on the dashboard. Oh my God. And the National Highway Traffic System Administration said the vehicle's electronic parking brake will also automatically apply if it does not go into park mode when commanded. So you can bring your recalled vehicles to a Ford or Lincoln dealer to have their system software updated and damaged transmission components replaced free of charge. So there you go. Just a little FYI. I thought I saw that come through. All right, this is WCRS Radio. Let's go through real quickly a few things that are happening in our area. That's right. What do I have? I don't have anything there. Okay, well, let's try going over here. I do have some cool stuff over here. So let's see what we got. It's telling me we're live on Facebook. Okay, yes, I know that. All right, what else is happening? This is a cool story. I'm not going to talk about it, but remember, wasn't it a year ago, fallen soldiers at the 1780 Battle of Camden identified through DNA testing? Remember when they had that big ceremony and they moved them from one location where they were found to an official cemetery plot? That was a cool story. They did not know who they were. They've now identified them through DNA testing back from 1780, and they still were able to identify them. I think that is pretty darn cool. Also, this 4th of July weekend, we are going to have the movie, what is it, Young Washington? Yes, I think that's right.
What do we do?
Oh, okay.
We fight! Hold your ground! There is no retreat!
What are you called?
My name is George Washington.
Young Washington. That's right. That's coming up this weekend. That's supposed to be. It's got a lot of rave reviews. You might want to see that. My pick for this weekend, though, is going to be Jaws, because that was the movie that started everything. Jaws. Remember Jaws? And it was before we had all the AI technology and everything. It's a throwback movie. I think it's going to be played on Saturday, 4th of July. It's also going to be played on Sunday evening, which is when I usually go see those movies, and then on maybe Wednesday. So I plan to see Jaws, but Young Washington looks like a good movie also. Also, the Greenwood Pathway House doing great yeoman's work here in our community, getting people out of homelessness one person or one family at a time. They need donations of children's cereal. You can imagine it's summertime and they're going through lots of cereal. So, and don't let them kid you. The adults eat the cereal too. So if you can make a donation, that would be terrific. You can have it you can donate it, drop it by their office there on Panola, or you can order it and have it sent directly to them. Greenwood Pathway House, 310 Panola Avenue, right here in Greenwood. They need cereal. Another thing, they must have had a successful corn picking down there at Della House, South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture, because they're having another corn sale, 6:30 to 10 on July 1st, which is tomorrow, and July 2nd. Either that or they have a lot more corn than they thought. Excuse me. So July 1st and July 2nd, Wednesday and Thursday, $3 per dozen, $10 for a crate, which is 30 or 40 ears. This is going to be great. They said they are going to have more. It says, follow the signs and look for our tent. The campus is located at 192 Geddes Road in McCormick. Be prepared to show your ID when you come to the security gate. So I think that's terrific. If you want to get some really fresh corn, you can pick it yourself. That's right. You can pick it yourself. This is another thing that are going, ride, rescue, repeat, bike for paws, a ride for a cause, make a difference, Paws and Claws Animal Rescue. New friends create great rides, bigger purpose. Together we can make a difference, one ride at a time. Join Bike for Paws, a community bike club sponsored by Paws and Claws Animal Rescue. Whether you're looking to stay active, meet new people, make new friends, or support a great cause, this club's for you. A location will be at Grace Park right here in Greenwood. Ages 13 and older are welcome. Sponsored by Paws and Claws Animal Rescue. Come ride with us, connect with others in the community, and help make a difference for animals in need. No matter your skill level, everyone is welcome. Great rides, new friendships, a bigger purpose. Join us this summer and be part of something special. And then they have a link to join. That is on Facebook, but it is Bike for Paws. Paws and Claws Animal Rescue. And that is, I guess is it going to be every Saturday? Is that when they're doing this? 13 plus, held at Grace Street Park. Make new friends, location, sponsored. June 20, well, I guess, I don't understand. I don't know whether they had it last week or whether it's something they're going to do. We'll have to get you some more information, but that sounds pretty cool. Penny, would you be interested in doing that? Yes, I would be interested in being to help others who aren't as fortunate as me. Okay. All right. So, Coming up this Saturday on July 4th at 9:30 in the morning at the Veterans Center, they are going to have a reading of the Declaration of Independence. It is supposed to run from 9:30 to 10-ish. They will have reenactors. It's a great time to take kids to remember and react to the fact that this is what our country was founded on, and these principles are important. So I think it's terrific. Also, the museum, although they are going to be closed the rest of this week, I believe. Road to the Revolution is a great exhibit that they have over there. It's neat the way they've done the exhibit because it has from the Patriot side or from the Loyalist side, and you can travel around. And this is an ever-changing exhibit, so make sure you go there this summer. One of the things that's great about the museum, it's cool. It's cool. Cool, meaning the air conditioning is a great air conditioning. Also tonight, June 30th, out there at the Legion Field, Greenwood Post 20 baseball, they are going to have alumni night. Tuesday, alumni night, Legion Field, right here in Greenwood, out there at the old Civic Center, right next to the Farmers Market. We invite all former 20 Post players, coaches, families, and supporters to join us as we celebrate the tradition and the history of Greenwood Post 20 baseball. 85 years. That's the same age that WCRS will be on September 1st. 85 years. So first pitch at 7 o'clock. Go out there and enjoy. They have hot dogs. They have all kind of full concession out there. They've done a lot of work on the field. It's really, really, really nice and updated their sound system too. So a lot of good things have happened out there. Go out there and check that out. Kids 12 and under, I believe, are free. And it's very inexpensive to go. Check that out. That's going on this evening. So that's a few of the things, but the big thing is don't forget about checking out what they have going on over there at the library this evening. If you have been very interested and really care about whether our community ends up with a data center, this is your opportunity to ask questions of Planning Commission people and to see what terms and what they have updated and see if it satisfies you enough. That's the thing. Does this satisfy you? If it does, then maybe you can be a little more positive. If it doesn't and you want the moratorium, then you need to know this. You also need to know that you can sign up to speak. I believe there'll be a speaking time at this, so make sure you check that out. But 5:30 to 7 at the library. There will not be county council. It'll only be planning commission members there. All right, in closing, I've got a couple little jokes. I thought I'd try to find a couple of little jokes. I really like these. This one has got to make you smile. I changed my password to incorrect. So whenever I forget I forget what my password is, the computer says, your password is incorrect. And then I go, oh yeah, incorrect. That is so dumb, it's great. Don't you think? I think that is so dumb, it's great. Let's see. We've got some others here. If you work as security at Samsung store, does that make you a guardian of the galaxy? Samsung, Galaxy, that's their style phone. Okay, well, anyways, that's that one. Wah, 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 wah. One more, and I'm closing out the show. If anybody wait a minute, let me check and see if anybody has anything else to say. Nothing right there. Let's go over here. And by the way, today is the last day of the month, and I was supposed to announce who is going to win breakfast for a bunch. Who's going to win? Sanitation workers of Greenwood. That's right. I don't know how they'll break this out or anything else. I just know we had a recommendation that the sanitation workers of Greenwood have the opportunity to have breakfast for a bunch from Chick-fil-A, which is delightful and oh so delicious. So I've got to get a contact for that, but we are excited. So if the person that is listening this morning, otherwise I will call you later today, will give me a contact. Congratulations for nominating them. That's right. This is what it's all about. Recognizing people who work hard every day and rarely get any thanks. So Chick-fil-A wants to thank you for the sanitation workers of Greenwood. Where would we be without all the hard work that you do? That's right. All right. Now, for what was I going to use as my final send-off here today? Okay, here it is. This is the one I'm going to do. 5 aunts rented an apartment with another 5 aunts. Now they are 10 aunts. Tenants. Wah, 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 wah. Hope you enjoyed the show. There's all kinds of good things going on out there in our community to get involved in. There is no reason for anybody to be lonely in our community. It takes all of us, though, to help each other be less lonely. And whether you talk to someone on the telephone, whether you visit them, whether you take them a cup of tea and drop off a cookie or something, all these little things make somebody feel connected to the world. I hope you'll take the opportunity and the time, number one, to teach your children or grandchildren, but two, to take the time yourself to make somebody else feel less lonely. And if you are lonely, that you go out there and find somebody who's lonely and get over being lonely. Is that right, Penny? Yeah, it's right. All right, we're done right here. I'm Ann Eller. Penny is looking at me like, come on, Ann, it's time for breakfast. I got things to do. Don't keep me here any longer. That's right. All right, that is where we're at here. Penny, say goodbye. All right, she's going outside. She's going to be enjoying the outside. I've got to get out of here. I got things to do. Have a great day. We're now going to drop the curtain and cue the music right here on WCRS Radio. Take it away. Have a good one. Stay cool. Make sure you stay hydrated. It's really, really hot out there. So it's going to be another hot one today. So bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. Take it away.